Hello, ninth grade. We are on our second day of online learning, week number 2. Yesterday, we started thinking about small moment narratives, and you planned out the beginning, middle, and end of what your small moment narrative is. Today, if you click on the slides, we are focusing on building the characters, the conflict, and the setting of our story. So, I can use my graphic organizer to structure ideas for my small moment narrative. Same exact graphic organizer as yesterday. This time we're focusing on the second page, which Mr. Allen will speak to you about in a second. If you are with us for our live session, we'll take a mindful minute together. If not, please pause the video, take a mindful minute, take a few nice deep breaths, and then you can scroll to slide 3. Today, we are planning more information and details about the characters, the conflict, and the setting of your small moment narrative. And like I just said, you're going to be recording all of these ideas in your graphic organizer in the Google Classroom.
Okay, yesterday I gave you an example of a small moment out of a big day. So not the whole day at school, but the small moment of taking a pop quiz. And then we looked at identifying the beginning, the middle, and the end of the little film about the birds on the telephone wire. Now you are going to identify the beginning, or no, you already identified the beginning, middle, and end of your small moment. Here's the example of my pop quiz and what my beginning, middle, and end would be. So the beginning of a small moment about a pop quiz would be setting the scene for what class we're in. So I get into math class, I go to my favorite seat, I get out my supplies, I check my phone while no one's looking, and then the teacher begins the lesson and I work on my first task. While that's happening.
That's also a really good spot to add imagery and description, like when you get into the classroom, right? Like what the classroom looked like and what it felt like sitting in your seat and your supplies and all that.
Yeah. And then the middle of this would be setting up the conflict or the tension. And that is some kids in the back are acting up. And so the teacher decides pop quiz. And as you can see in the slide, it says, talk about that conflict, talk about that tension in the room, both between the teacher and the students who aren't behaving, and the tension of just, there's a pop quiz in the room with you, and it's gonna get you. Okay? And then at the end would be, you all turn your slips back into the teacher, read off the correct answers, and hey, it turns out I got 9 out of 10. That's because I studied during lunch.
So he survived the moment and he used the beginning, a middle, and an end to really flush out that moment.
Yeah. And then our next slide, today, you are going to be setting up the characters, the setting, and the conflict of your personal moment narrative. Now, my example was very, very simple. Your story should be about surviving a hardship or a trauma. Try to come up with something that was more difficult than a pop quiz. If the only thing you can come up with is a pop quiz, tell me in the chat and we'll talk about it.
And remember, guys, if it's not a moment that you can personally come up with, you can ask maybe a parent or someone that you know has gone through something, or you can just totally create a moment from thin air. You can be a fiction writer for all we care.
Okay, so here's that graphic organizer. So instead of beginning, middle, end, it's now characters, plot and conflict, and setting. Or that way.
So when we're thinking about the characters, what should you be putting in this box here? We talked a lot this year about STEAL, that acronym that helps us try to really zoom in on character traits. So you could think about what your character is saying, thinking, how they impact others, what their actions are, what they look like, and you can use those ideas to build your character. So in Mr. Allen's example of the pop quiz, two characters that I might want to really flush out in this box right here would be obviously myself, because it's a small moment narrative. So we're writing from I. You can use I for this, right? And you might want to think about what you felt like sitting in the chair, freaking out about the pop quiz, hearing the other students in the back making the noise, maybe what you're seeing around the room, what you're smelling, or what the texture of the desk and the papers in your book bag are. Another group of, or a character that you could focus on is the kids in the back, right? And giving some description to what they look like, what they sound like, what they're saying, what they're doing, all those types of things to help you build the character. You also want to focus on the conflict, right? The conflict is super essential, or that moment of tension is essential because it pushes your story forward. So in Mr. Allen's example of the pop quiz, the kids in the back being loud is a source of tension, but also the teacher giving the pop quiz and you internally freaking out about it and getting worked up is another source of tension that helps build that story. So you could add those details and the things that you're thinking about in that center box.
Okay, and for setting, don't be simple and general. Setting is the room or the place where this is happening. And because we're just talking about one moment, it should probably just be one setting.
Yep.
Okay. But just because you're staying in one room or in one place doesn't mean you get to be super simple about it. For example, like she went into her room and sat on her bed. That's an okay place to start, but that's definitely not enough to let us know what's going on in this room. How big is the room? How big is the bed? Is there someone else in the room? Has it always been her room? Is it someone else's room? And are there clean sheets, dirty sheets? Is it a clean room? Are the windows open or closed? Are there no windows? Make sure that you pick the details that are most important to your story. And if you're making something like this up, this is a time where you can set the mood that you want to build. Where if you or the character that you're writing about is feeling really frazzled and confused, maybe it's a dirty room that she walks into. And then also use imagery, use the 5 senses. People always write about how things look. People tend to remember to write about how things feel. Don't forget to check in with your writing to see, do you need to add the sense of smell? If you don't. Do you need to add the sense of taste? Like during a pop quiz, do you get that feeling of like you have a penny in your mouth?
Yeah.
When you're nervous? Like you can taste the nerves when you take a pop quiz?
Or like feel the sweat, right? Like dripping down.
Yeah. Or you hear your heart thumping in your ears.
Yeah.
You don't have to use all 5, and definitely don't just go through a list. I smelled the smell of the thing. I tasted the taste of the thing.
Yeah.
I looked and I saw the thing. I felt and I felt the thing, and I heard the thing as well. Just pick 1 or 2 that are important to what's happening in your moment and really describe them well.
So just to recap, guys, we're focusing on building the character and the conflict and the setting today. We are working in this part of our graphic organizer, and we will check in with you guys after the live session. If you have any questions, please email or chat with us.
Bye.
Bye.